Find your peace, big guy. Find it.
I wish I could have known about the view from halfway now!
BoJack Horseman is one of the best written pieces of media of the 21st century. It may just seem like an ordinary adult animated TV show by the likes of Family Guy and American Dad. Despite being animated with anthropomorphic humanoid characters, the show stands out as being one of the most unique shows that we've seen in decades. With a very likeable and, a lot of the time, relatable cast of characters, the show can stand on its own 2 feet, juggling great characters, compelling and interesting stories, filled with gut-wrenching and often heartbreaking scenes and slapstick comedy. The show is created by Bob-Waksberg in 2013 for Netflix. It aired its first season on August 22nd, 2014. The show initially received poor reviews as Netflix only gave the first 6 episodes to reviewers. Due to this, networks now must give reviewers full access to the season before making a review, instead of just giving them the first half of a season. This just comes to show how good the show became and changed the way media outlets review shows and content as a whole. So what is the show all about, for those who haven't watched it of course? BoJack Horseman is about a washed up TV actor from the 90s called, well, BoJack Horseman. His show called Horsing Around was cancelled back in the 90s. And ever since he's been doing nothing but drinking, watching old episodes of the show and being a real stupid piece of shit. Let's get acquainted with these characters who we will almost definitely fall in love with over the next 6 seasons. First is BoJack Horseman himself. BoJack is a comedy sitcom actor who started his career in the late 80s, and when his show was cancelled back in the 90s, he went on a downward spiral towards drug and alcohol abuse, hiding away in his big Hollywood house, and being a real dipshit to anyone who ever tried to love him. Next is Todd Chavez. Todd is kind of the comedic relief for the show, especially for the first 3 seasons, but he slowly matures into a functioning member of society, briefly being governor of California, owning his own taxi business, and being the president of ads for whattimeisit.rightnow.com. Yes, a website that allows you to see what time it is right now. Todd is just a lovable, goofy, funny, and kind-hearted character. Next is Princess Carolyn, or PC for short. PC is a hard-working, self-sufficient woman who started off working as an assistant to an acting agent. She then progressed into being one of the best agents in the field. Then, after leaving her job, she started her own business to eventually become a manager. PC doesn't often leave much time for herself or others and devotes almost 100% of her time to her job. Next is Diane Nguyen. Diane is one of my favourite characters in the whole show. She is kind, helpful, she holds herself with high expectations along with everyone else around her. She is the one who's writing BoJack's autobiography and memoir, and she is the girlfriend turned fiance turned wife, then turned ex-wife to the absolutely delightful Mr. Peanut Butter.
Who's that dog? Mr. Peanut Butter!
Mr. Peanut Butter is a loud, extravagant, annoying, and kinda arch nemesis to BoJack, as he basically stole the idea of horsing around and turned it into his own show, appropriately titled Mr. Peanut Butter's House. Mr. Peanut Butter! And these 5 characters are some of the best written characters for any show I've ever seen, let alone an animated adult cartoon. BoJack Horseman has possibly one of the greatest intro sequences of any show. Not only is it completely unique, but the music is also just super catchy and instantly recognizable. The intro starts off with a panning shot of BoJack's house in the Hollywood Hills. Yes, I did say Hollywood, not Hollywood. In season 1 episode 6, during a drunken love act of affection, BoJack steals the D from the Hollywood sign as a way to impress Diane. Get it now? D for Diane? And then from that point on in the show, Hollywood is now referred to as Hollywood. After the panning shot of BoJack's house, we enter his bedroom where he wakes up eyes wide open. We then see BoJack going into his closet to get his robe. We can see on the walls a couple of posters of horsing around, a sign that BoJack is still pretending to live in the glory days. Now, the intro changes pretty frequently. There are subtle changes to the intro depending on who is in BoJack's life at that time in the show. For example, in season 1 episode 2, Princess Carolyn, Todd and Diane are in BoJack's house as they are in BoJack's life at that time. But then in season 4 episode 2, there is nobody in his house, as in that point in the show, he has nobody in his life as he ran away from Hollywood and went to Oregon.
Michigan!
The attention to detail in the show as a whole is just fantastic. For example, in the intro between Season 1 Episode 1 and Season 3 Episode 11, Sarah Lynn, who was the actress who played young Sabrina on Horsing Around, can be seen partying at BoJack's house. But when she unfortunately dies at the end of Season 3 Episode 11, she can no longer be seen in the intro. And there are tons of these details in the show which genuinely require an entire video by itself. The main sequence of the intro also changes per season. For example, in Season 1, it features BoJack in the store getting followed by the paparazzi. In Season 2, it features BoJack and some of the other characters on the set of Secretariat. I'm not going to explain everything to you, as if I did, this video will be over an hour long. Just watch the damn show, okay? In Season 3, it features BoJack and the gang at the Secretariat Oscar premiere. Season 4 has the drug trip effect with all of the characters that BoJack has done wrong by. Season 5 features the set of Filbert's, the show that BoJack stars in that season, and Filbert's house looks almost identical to BoJack's house, as now just bear with me with this, okay? A set designer for Filbert went to David Borealis' house, a plot point from Season 1 where when BoJack was out of town, Todd and PC turned BoJack's house into a tourist destination and told everyone it was David Borealis' house. And who is David Borealis, you may ask? I don't fucking know. Okay, you got all that? Good. And finally, Season 6's intro consists of all the shitty things BoJack has done throughout the show, like when he went to New Mexico and ruined an entire family's life, and trying to apologise to Kelsey after getting her fired from the set of Secretariat, but ultimately failing, just to name a few. Now, the stars that you can see multiple times in the intro is referring to the planetarium, the place where BoJack took Sarah Lynn while they were on their drunken high bender, and it is also the place where Sarah Lynn overdosed and died, and obviously it has permanently scarred BoJack for life and has still not forgiven himself for it. So yes, BoJack Horseman has one of the greatest intro sequences of all time. The music of BoJack Horseman is the stuff of legends. I want to firstly talk about BoJack's theme. BoJack's theme is used as the intro music to the show and perfectly fits the feel of the show. The theme kicks off with a diminuendo drum beat. It is followed by distorted pitch-shifting synthesizers and a deep, heavy bass line. The drums return and are also accompanied by distorted guitar riffs that pan from ear to ear. This gives the intro a slight feeling of uneasiness. The theme perfectly embodies BoJack and his Hollywood lifestyle when the brass section joins in. It gives the theme an aesthetic of glitz and glamour. But with that underlying bassline and heavy drum pattern, it also signals that nothing is so peachy and perfect in the city of Hollywood or in the life of BoJack himself. I want to briefly talk about the soundtrack to the show as well. The music choices throughout the show's run is next to perfect. Every song that is chosen is handpicked by someone to best represent the emotions that are running through that scene. Most of these songs replace Group Loves back in the 90s, which is the outro song specifically made for the show. We get our first taste of these outro songs in Season 1 Episode 7, titled Say Anything. This would also mark the turning point in the show's direction. Up until that point on in the show, it was mostly a comedy sitcom with small hints of drama and what was to come, but this episode sees the show take a whole different direction. From now on, the show will now focus more on the drama and harsh reality that the characters must face, with the comedy still very much being there, but it being a little bit smarter with its comedy.
But what I needed then was a friend. And you abandoned me. And I will never forgive you for that. Now get the fuck out of my house.
The song that plays at the end of episode 7 is called Impossible by Lila Foy. This song perfectly represents the emotions being felt by Princess Carolyn in this scene. I'll talk about one more song, the last song that we ever hear in BoJack Horseman, Mr. Blue by Catherine Feeney. This song plays over the final scene in the show, a conversation between Diane and BoJack. This would be the last time that Diane would ever see BoJack, as Diane, and the whole of the main cast actually, are moving on with their lives and trying to remove BoJack in the process. This scene paired with this song made me cry 3 out of the 5 times I watched the show all the way through. This song just represents a deep sadness not only felt by the audience, but felt by BoJack himself. His life will never be the same. Once he is finally out of prison, he will most likely have nobody left in his life. He will be completely alone for the first time ever. Seriously, whoever is in charge of the music choices did an excellent job of choosing the songs that would perfectly represent the emotion in a scene or episode. There is so much more that I can say about the show, but one video will never do it any justice. So expect to see an entire video series dedicated to this show sometime soon. I really cannot stress enough about how genuinely good this show is. Please don't avoid this show because it's just a cartoon or because it's just a show about a stupid talking horse, because believe me, it is so much more than that. This is a show that has made me feel things that I have never felt before. Here are some things that you may experience after finishing watching the show. Depression, anxiety, isolation, anger, obsessive crying yourself to sleep, talking in quotes from the show, singing I will always love you, having existential thoughts at 16, depressive episodes, more crying, emptiness and much more. This is a show that has made me cry on multiple occasions, and I am not afraid to say that. If you know me in real life, you will know how emotionless I really am. So for a show about a talking horse drinking and doing drugs and getting over the loss of his TV show from the 90s to make me cry, that is a truly great achievement. Thank you, Raphael, for making this show and filling me with a bottomless pit filled with depression, anxiety and existential thoughts. Do I recommend this show? Yes, I absolutely do. I'd recommend this show to anyone between the ages of 13 to 40, or I guess just to the young adults, because that is the target audience in the first place. And before I end this video, I want to finish off by reading a comment left by a user on a BoJack Horseman outro songs video compilation. It encapsulates the beauty and uniqueness of the show. It reads, "The scene fades. You're met with white words on a black screen. There's music. Maybe it's there to fill that sinking feeling. It doesn't. And you're met with your own non-reflection. It's you." So yes, BoJack Horseman is one of the greatest written pieces of media of the 21st century.